Welcome to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by Haven, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Haven Hubcast. I am your host, Nancy Sheed, and I am super delightfully excited to be here with Kim Barron, who is the owner and art director of New Leaf Graphic Design. Kim, thanks for being here.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am too. I love diving into and learning all about and hearing more about your work, which I've been a fan of for quite some time. So when we say graphic design and we hear the word art director, that gives us a little bit of an idea that you're a creative person and you probably do things like logos and branding and designing things. But before we step into what your business looks like right now, couldn't you walk us through is this what you always wanted to do when you grew up, or how did you come to where you are now?
Oh, that's a good question. I was always a creative person. I always loved art class more than any other class in school. So I always felt like I wanted to do something creative. I didn't know what that meant. And when it came time to actually choose a major in college or to choose a college and where to go, I thought, well, I like kids and I like art, so maybe I'll be an art teacher. So I actually went to college to become an art teacher, to major in art education. That didn't pan out. I truly did not end up finishing college. I got married. I had my first child, and then my husband was in the Marine Corps at the time, so we lived in North Carolina. We moved back here, and then I had to get a job and really decide what I was going to do. And all I knew was that I liked creative work. I don't know how I made the decision, but I took a job in a little printing company, which was, in retrospect, very fortuitous because that was before there was an internet also. In order to really be a good designer, especially at that time, you had to understand how printing worked.
Good point.
And how to design things to be printed, because there are parameters and rules and things you have to follow. So I actually kind of learned, it's sort of like learning how to build a house before you become an architect. It really helps to know all those things. So I learned a lot about printing in the printing company and then went on to work at some design firms after that. So yeah, I always knew I wanted to be creative, and also a very organized thinker. So that
Which
helps
doesn't
also.
always go hand in hand with creative people.
Yeah. So that worked. And I started doing this work before they were doing it with computers. So when the computers came along, I was like, I loved learning the software and stuff like that. So it all sort of merged together. I have to say, I was just following my intuition.
Which is also very sharp and honed, we know as well. So, Kim, at what point did you go from working in sort of printing and learning design that way? Did you work actually then in design for other companies, or did you make the leap straight then and there to running your own business?
I went from a printing company to a couple of different design firms, small design firms in Stanford. And then I went to a really big printing company that had a design department. And then that was the point. I had my third child and I was doing maternity. I was working from home during maternity leave. And I realized, because I was very autonomous, I dealt directly with the clients. I was on my own. I really didn't have a boss and I was just doing my own thing. And I kind of was like, why don't I just do this for myself? Nobody's watching me. Nobody's paying attention and I'm very successful. I actually went to the owner of the company and I said, I'm thinking of going on my own. Would you be interested in being my first client? Which I needed him to be my first client.
Right.
I don't know what, in retrospect, I was like very brazen in doing this. I don't know what I was thinking.
You knew he would be in big trouble if you left and he wasn't your client, because you would have to find somebody else.
And he actually kind of read me the riot act. He was like, he didn't think it was a good idea whatsoever. But yes, he would be my first client. And so I literally just didn't, I was doing the same exact thing, except the clients were being billed from me. I'm trying to think how that worked, but my daily life did not change. I was still doing the same work. Yeah. So, and then I just would here and there pick up a little a client here, a client there. It was word of mouth completely. And
Good for you.
so that was 22 years ago. And I just in the last couple of years really haven't done any work for them anymore.
Nice.
It lasted about 20 years. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think that's that constant where, if you go into your own business that you don't quite have that same security. And that sounds like it was kind of okay, if that baseline client was there, that could help you confidently grow your business. I have so many questions.
Yeah.
So one, related to that evolution, did you ever want to become a firm or an agency? Did that occur to you? Or was the autonomy for you sort of key of like just the one-on-one relationships? What's that journey been like?
It's a good question. It's something that I've never stopped thinking about. Like, should I do this? I've always been busy. I've always had a lot of work. And I have been told by my financial advisor, you should think about the future and selling this business. And in order to do that, you would want to have, employees. There's certain things you want to do in order to be able to phase yourself out of it. And that's when I started like thinking I really should do that. But I just don't have the personality really to manage other people and direct them. I have a very hard time delegating. I thought about it. I tried putting the pieces into place to do that, and it just didn't come naturally to me. I felt like if it happened organically, I would be fine with it.
Right.
But
right.
It hasn't. If that came to pass, maybe I would do that. But right now, it's me. I have a wonderful woman who freelances for me, who's awesome. And so I call her when I need her, and it really works well.
Well, I should have said asking for a friend. And I have had a similar approach with my business. The idea of being an agency overwhelms me versus the finding lots of either collaborative partners or referral partners to bring a project to life for a client has been much more fulfilling and aligned with sort of the way I like to work. So I just was curious, if that was similar for you. But that leads into the next question and kind of really then teases out like, when you meet people or we say, you have a graphic design firm, that means specifically to you, you know what you do. But to a lot of people, that is not clear, or you have to educate them, or we have to educate them. So what does graphic design mean to you, and or what is the like key work that that you do for your clients that your clients come to you for? What does that look like?
To me, the definition of graphic design is that it's about organizing information. So when I try to really explain what I do on a kind of baseline level, it's I help my clients to communicate their messages to their constituents, whether that's clients or volunteers or donors or whatever, in a graphic way. So to communicate their messages in the best way possible graphically. So that can be a website design, that can be a brochure, an annual report, a magazine. I have been doing this for so long that I have done so many different types of design. And it also can be branding, which is a sort of subset of design where it's not, to me, branding it's got a lot that falls under the umbrella. Branding is kind of a word that gets used a lot.
Oh my gosh. And misused and misunderstood.
Yes, completely. And so, when you're starting a business and you need a logo, there's a lot more, yes, you can just hire somebody to do a logo design that may or may not have a lot to do with the brand, in quote marks, of your business. So you want to do a lot of thinking about who am I? Where am I going? What is this business about? How do I aspire to be? How am I now? There's a lot that goes into that. So I kind of lost track of the question.
No. I think that's great because you touched upon both, and you covered a lot, and I like covering those words because I think again, graphic design, brand, logo, websites, like some people lump all those into the same category and think that one person can do all those things, and it's very nuanced. And I think that's what I would love teasing out with you is. They're not all the same. They do fit together. They are related. But if they're done and they're done really well, like your beautiful work, you're clear on how all those pieces fit together. And before they come to you, they have a clear understanding of what their brand is without any visual elements, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, or you help them figure out what their brand is before you even bring up something to them from a visual standpoint, and I think some people just are like, well, my logo was my brand. And you're like, no, right? Like,
No,
and I
yeah.
think then or I've seen the other end of the spectrum where I need a new website. And I was like, okay, well, what content is going to go on there? Or do
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like, do you have all of your branding elements together? And they're like, well, the website person does that.
Yeah,
And you're
no,
like,
I get, yeah.
no, no. So but those are also people that you either work with and or you help people tease that out, right? I mean, you help people
hmm
figure that out where they are.
Yeah, that happens a lot too.
I think that and that, so when you're working with a client or if a client's coming to you in terms of the right fit, how do you figure that out? How do you figure out where they are in their journey and how you can help them?
A lot of talking. There's a lot of talking that happens before any design work is done. And so it just has to be a conversation. Yeah, some people are very scattered and because they don't know what design is, like we're talking about, they don't know what they need to begin with or what homework they need to do before they see me. So part of it is just talking about where are you now. It happens. Actually, I just got a call a couple weeks ago from a woman who was like, I think I need you, but I don't know why, and I don't know how, and I don't know, like, exactly that. And so we had to have a conversation, and in the end, it was like, okay, maybe I'll call you in a year or two. Her
Mm,
saying to me, maybe I'll call you in a couple of years. I can see now that I have a lot of thinking I have to do first. I do often walk clients through, like if it's somebody who needs branding, like they need a logo, they're starting a new business or they want to refresh their existing business, we'll do a lot of talking about where they're at, what they need, and what I need them to do before we can start.
right.
And I also I do it to a certain degree. If it's a really big, in depth project or a big client or something like that, I have a marketing person that I work with who's wonderful and super great communicator. And she does a lot more of the examining of their competitors and
Mm,
really deep dive into what we call like the brand platform work.
yeah. Yeah. But key, like, especially if you're a bigger company, right? Like, I think a personal
hmm
brand or a solopreneur project doesn't always have to have that much work. But to your point,
hmm
like, I had the same experience. I said to somebody, I was brought in for content. And I said, and I was like, we can't even talk about that till we talk about your bigger marketing plan, which involved, we recognize it, a whole brand exercise. But it's so great to go through the process because then it became so much easier to pull the content once we'd done that exercise. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
it became so much easier to
Yeah.
build the website once we had actually pulled out then the visual brand guide that went with the branding exercise. So I didn't mean for this to turn into a rah branding, but I think you and I both know if somebody actually does the work, gosh, it makes it so much easier.
It absolutely does. It makes it much more pleasurable too.
Yeah, and the investment is worth it, which is, I guess, another plug for you. Like the investment is worth it because once you have all those elements in place, it becomes so much easier than. And I say this from the experience of working with a lot of people who never spent time thinking about the personal brand elements, and we end up making it up as we go along. Like from a color
Yeah.
standpoint, from a tone standpoint, from a writing standpoint, and it would be so much easier if you set the tone beforehand.
Yes. Because also then it's cohesive. It's much more cohesive when you do it that way.
Kim, how do you stay relevant? And because I know you are, and I've seen your recent work, how do you stay relevant in the world of people who are also sort of, I can just go to Fiverr and anybody can make me a logo, or there's 99 designs, or I forget what the other one is that people go to. I'm going to start from there and I'm going to crowdsource 4 logos.
Oh, I know.
Do you say more power to you? Do you sort of say if that's your choice that we are not a good fit? And or how has that impacted your business?
I've always been busy. So I have to say that it hasn't affected my business I'm sure there were people that may have otherwise come to me that then discovered those places and went that route. And I think budget has a lot to do with it. If somebody's a brand new company, they're just starting up, it's hard to want to be able it's hard to want to spend the money on this stuff. Although I personally think it's completely necessary. I'm always going to dissuade people from going that route, partially because I just feel that it's not fair to pay somebody so little money for this type of
Right.
work. It's
Yeah.
just not good. And my fear is, and I have seen happen with people who have showed me or talked to me about their experiences, that you may not be getting something that's completely original,
Mm.
They may not be doing all the background branding discussion work. And I have somebody that I know had an experience where she had a logo design that then there was not enough thought put into it in terms of the usage it was going to have, and she was running into trouble. She needed her logo to be very small on packaging, and it just was way too complex and it didn't work, and she asked me to come in and help her kind of
Redo.
fix some things. So yeah, I feel like you may not be hiring somebody that has the talent or the thought or the experience that you really would need.
I love that. Or the vision and the understanding of this is more than a logo. This is,
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
so much more than just a logo exercise. And not to get stuck on logo, you mentioned that you started in print before computers. Computers obviously came along and made things a lot easier. What gets you excited in terms of where we are right now and what you see for the future, right? In terms of ways people are using your designs going forward, or maybe even new projects you've been brought into that weren't things you could have even imagined 5 or 10 years ago?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. Design has changed so much. What a designer's responsible for is so much different than it was when I started.
Well, you mentioned packaging alone, right? Like, I mean, that was not something anybody would have considered way back when.
Not I hadn't. I certainly
Yeah.
hadn't. A designer's responsibilities were so much smaller, and there was so much more time to do stuff. Now everything is, I need it yesterday. I'm not so sure. I know there's so much stuff coming up in the future, and there's things now. I'm probably not going to think of the right phrase, but it's something like fungible FT
The NFTs,
NFTs. That's what it is. Non-fungible.
tokens.
Yeah. I've started reading about it. I really don't understand it yet. I feel like whatever is coming down the pike might just be above my head. Above my head. I
Exactly.
don't know.
I'm going to keep here doing my principled work and adhering to good guidelines of design, and it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
Do you have favorite types of work or favorite types of clients, that are more interesting or fun to work on with you or work with?
That's a good question. I love the branding work. I think that'll always be where my heart is. And I have so many different kinds of clients, and I have clients who are like, take this stuff and get it off my desk and do what you will and bring it back when it's done. And then I have other clients who want to be very hands-on and involved. And there's such a variety that I love it all. Like I don't, it's great. Sometimes I'm working with somebody who's very involved and really wants to be a part of it. And then next week there's somebody who doesn't care what I do. And because there's such a mix, it's always interesting, and any and all of it is great. I love so much what I do that it's all been great. And I guess one of the maybe the most fruitful kinds of clients, the kinds that I really love that have a lot of longevity, is when I work with people who are in the marketing department of a larger corporation, because it's a nice variety of work, and when they're really people who enjoy what they do and they're excited about it, it's fun for me. And what I find works to my benefit a lot is that I can turn things around faster often than their internal design department.
Wow. And you also sort of have them as your liaison, right? Which is
Mhm.
also helpful. So they're not all tied up in what's going on corporately, but you've got somebody who can shepherd projects through faster than you probably could from far away.
Exactly. Very, very much so.
I love that. I want to touch upon Haven, which you and I knew each other pre-Haven, but it's been so great that Haven has brought us together on a more frequent, regular basis. Tell us a little bit about sort of what Haven has meant to you. And I know you've meant a lot to Haven. So I'd love for you to talk about that experience.
Oh, I just I love Haven. I love the facility. I love the building. I love Felicia, who is the founder. It's been so awesome. So you're seeing my home office. So it's a small room that I work from and have for 20 something years. So it's just so lovely to have somewhere to go that is, it's beautiful and bright, and it's just got this great energy about it. And the people who work there, everybody's just so happy to be there. And it's just so nice to meet people. And I have a small office there. So sometimes I literally I'm going there and doing the same thing I am here, working in a small room. But you go out to get a cup of tea, and then you have a little chat with somebody who's out there, and you learn something new, or over the time that I've been there are people that I have, chosen to work with for various personal things.
Oh, that you've hired, not just the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I probably at least a dozen people I've hired for different things, different services that they offer. And I'm like, thank God, I would have never known where I would find such a person.
I love that.
Who does
But
this thing.
they
Yeah.
probably felt the same way about you. I know that. I mean, I would hope that you've worked with people there who've hired you that wouldn't have known how to, that wouldn't have found you otherwise.
Yes. Yep. Same thing.
And we were both sort of fans and friends of Haven at the very beginning. Can you talk a little bit about how you helped Haven get launched, or what your role in getting Haven launched was?
So I worked with Felicia. She had a marketing agency before Haven, and she would hire me to do design work for her. So I knew her for quite a few years, a lot of years before. And she talked to me about wanting to start Haven, like when it was just a germ of an idea. And I was so excited for her. And so she asked me to do her branding work. And I was so happy. And she's just a great person. She's very decisive, and she knows what she likes and doesn't like. And so I think we make a great team when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I don't have an ego, and it never bothers me. If somebody doesn't like something I've designed, I'm always like, please feel free to tell me so I can change direction. And she's really good about like, I like this, I don't like that, let's do this. And I find when I work with Felicia, there's very little, we don't have to go back and forth a lot on something. She'll see something, she likes it or she doesn't, and then we fix it and we move on.
And what I have loved is that you made so again, listeners, please check out all the beautiful, wonderful Haven logo branding work, colors, design. But what's been really fun to watch is not just the growth of Haven and the new programs they've laid out, is how they've been branded, because you created such a wonderful foundation. It's been fun to go just from Haven to the Haven Hatch to Haven Launch to, and those visual elements have just, you've just been able to build on them and continue the brand story so beautifully. And I don't know, I feel like there's a case study in here to be studied from where you started to what it's evolved to. And here we are, 3 years later, and it just keeps delivering in such a beautiful way. So I think, again, it's a great example of your fantastic work when a brand execution is done really well. So kudos.
Thank you. Yep. There's a quote from Jeff Bezos where he says, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I feel like with Haven, that I hear, you hear people talk about it when they're not there or outside of Haven. It's always spoken of very highly from what I hear. So I feel like that's good to know, I think.
But and the brand that you created as well in terms of a visual element is bright. It's welcoming. I don't know. It just, check it out, listeners. Check it out. It's, I'm a huge fan. So Kim, thank you so much for sharing your sort of insight about what you do, how you work, how this industry is, clarifying some things. How do people find you, reach you, connect with you? What's the best way?
Email is probably the best. It's my website. You can find me through my website, which is newleafgd, which stands for graphic design, newleafgd.com.
Perfect. We'll include that in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time, Kim. We'll see you really soon, probably at Haven.
Okay, awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Haven is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. Haven is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the Haven community online at haven.com. That's HAYVN.com. Haven Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.